welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Today we are explaining the events of My Hero Academia chapter 311 and a recent interview with Horikoshi. My Hero Academia's final arc has started, and with this, the creator has teased what the ending will involve, as Deku's journey to become the #1 hero is coming to an end sooner than we all thought, unfortunately. In the interview, the creator was asked which characters would have an important role in the final act, where he stated it would be Hawks and Uraraka who will play the light of hope for readers. I think this means that they will be the characters that will have to save the day to do something integral to Deku succeeding in his mission. As you can see in this exclusive art from the exhibition, it's a romantic image of a torn up Deku and Uraraka smiling at each other. The creator stated that there will be a scene exactly like this, and it's how he imagined their relationship would develop if he explored it deeper. The other ships will definitely be angry about this, by the way. Let's not start a war in the comment section.
We have to respect women, Bakugo! No! If she breathes, she's a thought! All women are queens!
Moving on, the creator stated that Shoji, Shinso, Monoma, Sero, and many other characters' combined efforts will converge into a single battle where they will have epic scenes to support Deku in his victory against All for One to save the world. Again, I believe this is a concept that will be similar to Infinity War and Endgame, since Horikoshi has already admitted that the movies were epic, great, and inspiring to him. A good way to keep every single character relevant and vital to the message of the story is to make them succeed in their own story arcs by helping Deku to achieve victory together. The integral message of My Hero Academia is that there is a hero in all of us, where you can be from any background and circumstance but still achieve your dream of helping others with your selfless acts by working hard and unified as a force against evil. Remember the famous line we all know, with great power comes great responsibility, which means the strong protects the weak. So all the characters combining their efforts sounds only natural for where the story needs to conclude. The ending of My Hero Academia has been planned out since volume 21 in the Endeavor vs High End fight. The ending has been decided from the start, and the creator has no plans of changing it at all. So we can pretty much guarantee that Deku will indeed be the strongest and greatest hero by the end of the manga. He will save the world and gain the supreme drip of all, marry his ting.
Hold up, wait a minute.
Marry his ting and go balls deep, eventually get them kids. And then he's explaining his story to them, since he is the narrator of the show. You have to remember, this dude is already narrating his own story that he's the best. And finally, he can then meet his father again that dipped since childhood, living happily ever after. Remember, the ultimate rule in anime, once you gain more drip, no one can defeat you.
You must introduce yourself to the world and proudly say, I am here.
So before I continue, I would like to mention our clothing. Thank you to those that have bought it and continue to support us. The link will be in the description. Also, you must smash the like button and hit the notification bell for the channel, as we cover My Hero Academia on a weekly basis. You should join our community, because that way we can enjoy the series together. Recently, we covered how strong All Might was in his prime and why Deku will become even better. I suggest you watch it. After this analysis, you won't regret it. Play the clip. They have to smash the like button.
こんな言葉を知ってるか。さらに向こうへ連れて
Anyways, let's start to explain chapter 311. The chapter starts by showing us that Endeavor is revived, continuing his redemption to become a true hero, which All Might represented. To do this, Endeavor decided to start from the very beginning by stopping petty criminals. Our guy showcases a new moveset, dishing out fire arrows to those fodder thieves. He notices that they are armed with enhanced support items courtesy of the company named Deterrent. Okay, how am I gonna pronounce this shit? Like, try this at home, guys. Deterrent?
Nope.
Deterrent.
Nope.
Deterrent.
Nope.
Degenerate. But But anyway, with these support items, it reminds us of the impact Redestro and his company left society in. Not for the better, of course. These villains are prison breakers released due to the results of the war. When on the ground, the criminal shows his frustration on why everything is the way it is, placing all the blame and responsibility on Endeavor. Endeavor is trying to win back the trust of the people by being in the front lines once again, similar to how a new pro hero starts off. Endeavor might have felt he had to wipe away all his past achievements and start again, due to feeling those moments came from a fake version of what a hero was meant to be, a fake version of himself. Once again, this ideology goes back to Hero Killer Stain, when we saw his anger towards Endeavor. It was not the anger towards him as a person, but towards the false notion of what he was portraying as a hero. Throughout Endeavor's time as a pro hero, he was chasing the goal to be number one, to be greater than All Might. Fundamentally, this pushed his focus on stats and how well his hero organization was doing. The main drive for Endeavor pushing himself as a hero was his ego to be the best. However, when the very person he sought after so long retired, when Endeavor finally became the number one hero himself, he started to question what that role truly meant, even to the point of asking advice from All Might, his longtime rival and goal. Endeavor eventually took the first step in purifying his intentions by trying to fix his relationship with his family, something that was seen as irredeemable. After Dabi's revelation of being his son Touya Todoroki, Endeavor understood the reality of his worth as a hero. In chapter 300, Endeavor stated how he had died back then, where later in chapter 302, with the help of his family and Shoto, he was given a helping hand to stand once again as a hero. Henceforth, Endeavor revived as a phoenix, literally reviving himself from his death, which he had spoken of, the death of his ego. However, this transition to have a new start won't be easy, as the reality of his past will never be wiped away. This is showcased later in the chapter, when we witness the protest from a large group of people, calling the top 3 heroes fakes, referring to Endeavor's failure of a father creating a villain like Dabi, Hawk's deceit about his past and father, along with the murderous action against Twice, and Best Genius, who lied to the public and pretended to be dead. The protesters dubbed these 3 the gods of plague, or the bringer of misfortune, along with pushing the narrative of their failure to society. If they had stopped Shigaraki from the start, then there would be no jailbreakers to even worry about. A part of me feels like society is quite overreacting, because obviously they do not have the information we readers do. We have witnessed the emotional turmoil and the behind the scenes of what actually occurred with these characters, and I guess Horikoshi is trying to showcase how public perception can make or break a culture after a few mistakes ripple into something bigger and become public. They call out Endeavor's lie, which he stated back in chapter 306 to protect Deku. This lie fundamentally stains his effort to win back the public's trust. And to put oil to his fire, these guys have no chill, fam, by shouting out if Endeavor saw the families of the people Dabi burned on TV. Just this alone showcases how the sins of Dabi fall back to his father. Now, being from an Asian background myself, I'm sure my Indian viewers or people from South Asian countries can relate in some weird way, but this theme of children being the face of the father is a very common practice, especially in our communities. A son or daughter's actions can lead the parents to end up killing themselves out of shame, whereas in other countries, the families will go far to even kill their own children out of shame that they bring to them. Honor is everything, even greater than their own blood. However, obviously Endeavor ain't on that level at all. Endeavor loved Touya and was scared about his safety when he always wanted to practice. In the end, he froze and couldn't kill Dabi, especially feeling responsible for what happened to Touya Todoroki. This showcases Endeavor's change in mindset even before the end of the war. However, to the public, they don't give a shit. It doesn't matter what Endeavor's intentions are or what he is going through. These lot continue to be savages, throwing garbage on him and the others, saying they are nothing but fakes and should get out of their faces. Like, please remember that this dude Endeavor can just fry their asses, and I don't think some of them realize who they are talking to. If Endeavor was truly not a good person or trying to make things right, he wouldn't be dealing with all of this bullshit and he would just become an anti-hero. Regardless, as Endeavor links up with Genius, they reaffirm All For One's tactics of creating chaos by releasing the multitude of villains with no real goal, as we saw with Muscular. The villains they have been capturing so far have no connection to All For One or Shigaraki. In many ways, they are just a distraction. They all take a seat in Best Genius's freaking Batmobile whilst Hawks finishes his orders to Edgeshot, and they start asking about what their next move actually is. They decide on working separately from Deku as they're using him as bait. The villains who escaped from Tartarus are probably working together in some kind of order, meaning they're probably working under All For One, and that their goal is to capture One For All while society is in ruin. This is a prime time for the villains to strike, yet they're still in hiding, not doing anything, because All For One's top priority at the moment is to take over Shigaraki, and once that's done, All For One will head for One For All immediately. But that's when Hawks questions why All For One filled Shigaraki with so much hatred, when getting a strong body would be enough, right? The reason is One For All is not so easily taken away. One For All has been passed down and contains the spirits of 9 other users. The users work as a lock as their combined willpower rejects the quirk being stolen. All For One knows this and that he lacks the conviction to take over his brother's quirk. No matter how much he desires it, it won't be enough to overpower 9 people. He's not someone who would fight for his convictions, but rather he does so for the sake of his desires. Shigaraki has convictions over Hero Society, which was naturally born through the manipulation he had done. All For One needs someone with a strong conviction to be able to steal One For All, and this someone is Shigaraki, as All For One has purposely grown Shigaraki to be as hateful as one can be, hoping that Shigaraki's hatred will be able to surpass that of the wills of One For All users. Remember, during the war, when the 2 vestige worlds clashed, All For One kept brainwashing Shigaraki to think about his hatred and the circumstance the heroes caused him, which only made Shigaraki more angry and fueled. So seeing as patching and taking over Shigaraki is his priority, that begs the question of how Shigaraki is going to be involved in taking the quirk, since All For One is going to be in control. Chances are that All For One wants to construct something similar to One For All. All For One wants his will to combine with Shigaraki to take over One For All, and after the vessel is actually complete, he can live as the Demon Lord. We then cut to All Might watching Deku's GPS signal and worrying about the fact that he hasn't slept at all, remembering the times when Nighteye was saying the same thing to him, not being able to rest on a comfortable bed. Deku parallels him, since All Might's record was working 72 hours straight and then jumping to Osaka for another mission. Remember, as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you want to learn how strong All Might was in his prime and what that means for Deku's potential, go watch the video in the pinned comment and what's being displayed to you right now. So as Endeavor mentioned, Deku already has a huge burden on his shoulders, which is why they are working separately. How could Deku sleep if he has to be on high alert the whole time, since All For One and Shigaraki have the location quirk that can track him? If he's asleep and captured, it would be game over. Deku recently unlocked the Danger Sense quirk that is letting him know of others that are in trouble all the time, similar to how All Might mentioned that One For All is a quirk that calls out to those that need help. It's a pushing force and will that makes you want to keep going no matter what. Thirdly, as seen in chapter 310, Deku is constantly debating himself regarding the idea of saving or killing Shigaraki. He is questioning his own philosophy on how he should respond to Shigaraki's hatred for heroes and what it implies to the wider society that created him due to the circumstance in the first place. And on top of all of this, Deku has to master all the quirks and One For All at 100% power before the final fight even begins. If he doesn't do this, then the guilt of the previous encounter would weigh down too heavy on him. Almost every single hero died in the last war in front of him due to his lack of proficiency in One For All. In his eyes, if All Might was at 100%, he would have defeated Shigaraki and saved everyone. But because he chose to take on this power, it's his responsibility to not put others in danger and take out the threat himself. With all these factors in mind, All Might tries to support this young man at all costs, but we see an interference in his GPS signal and a grenade is thrown at All Might, making his car explode. There is no need to panic because Horikoshi wouldn't kill such an important character in such an anticlimactic manner. You cannot forget the plot device and promise Deku made to All Might. Part of Deku's character is that he promised All Might he would defy destiny and the future vision Nighteye had of his death, that he would become the strongest and master One For All just to save All Might's life. So there's no way All Might is dead. These two characters need to interact with one another until that happens.
僕、あなたに何があっても一緒にねじ曲げます。
So some sort of device then hits Deku's phone and a voice starts coming from it. It's the supposed villain from Tartarus. She has a giant sniper coming out of her elbow and demands for Deku to come with her. If he follows her orders, she won't kill him and blast his limbs. The key thing to know is that Overhaul is next to her, who she freed back in chapter 297 during All For One's prison break. And we all know Overhaul actually hates Shigaraki. Overhaul wanted to become the leader of the underworld and control the economy and tried to make Shigaraki join his ranks, right? However, due to a clash of ego, Shiggy ended up removing his arms to poke fun out of his idea of the Quirk destroying bullets, claiming that he is the leader of the underworld and the true king, saying that there can only be one true king, bitch, and he destroyed him, right? So it's obvious this woman wanted to negotiate with Deku because she could have easily just shot his arm off instead of just a mobile phone. With Overhaul's knowledge of the underground, it's not far-fetched to assume he would give intel or clues to where All For One could be hiding in return for a favor, such as receiving his arms back, which will in return give his Quirk back, or you know, the woman wanting to propose that deal. Overhaul might be the one to help the heroes by giving them an antidote to the Quirk destroying bullets because he had the solution for that problem, which is something Shigaraki will still be using in the upcoming fights and future war. So that ends the chapter. Stay tuned on the channel by hitting the notification bell. We will be covering My Hero Academia on a weekly basis, so please smash the like button and buy the merch if you're interested in supporting it. With that, goodbye and I'll see you next time.